On today's show, we're going to talk about the San Antonio Spurs. They just come off a loss, but they've been great all year. We're going to break down what makes them great, where are they vulnerable, and what are the questions we have for them for the rest of the season. We're also going to talk about some trades that happened. We're going to talk about Jokic's return. Legs got to see Cooper Flagg up close and personal. And then we're also going to talk about the All-Star reserves. All of that and more on today's All-NBA show. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with 150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllNBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler. We're recording this one a little early today on a Sunday ahead of all of the games tonight's slate, but we had some good ones over the weekend. How you doing, Legs?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you? Big day in the league, actually, this Sunday. A lot going on, man. Good games and all-star reserves. A lot of stuff going on.
I can't wait for this Nuggets-Thunder game, which we'll be watching just shortly after this. I cannot wait for it. It's going to be a fantastic game. Maybe we'll have to break it down later on in the week, but we're going to start today. We got a great list of topics here. I thought the weekend was pretty fascinating in the NBA. And my favorite team of the moment, it's not the Denver Nuggets. Get them out of here. It's the Charlotte Hornets, who pick up a big win, 111-106 over the San Antonio Spurs. I want to break down this game very briefly and before we get into some Spurs talk, but the Hornets were up huge in this one, Legs, to end the second quarter and to start the third, really sandwiching halftime. They were dominant. The Spurs do not get ran very often with these like heavyweight punches by an offense where they can't get stops, but that's what happened to in the first half and start the second half. And it was capped by this play where LaMelo Ball got Victor Wembanyama out on an island. Do you remember this play?
Yeah.
ISOs him, gets to the basket, kicks it out, swing, wide open three. And it was just one of these huge runs where the Spurs' heads were spinning. It was so impressive.
Yeah, you don't see like too many guys get Wembanyama on an island, even a guard with a great handle, and be able to get by him as easily as he did because of the ground that Wembanyama covers. He usually gives you 6, 8, 10 feet. He's not worried about you shooting the ball because he can practically get to it from there. So to be that far off of a guy and still get beat to the extent that LaMelo beat him on that play was really impressive. And I think it kind of spoke to the troubles that San Antonio had guarding them in this game. Now, I give the Spurs credit. They made a great comeback. They got it. They basically erased all of that lead. I think at one point it was 20. They erased the entire thing, got it to within 2. And it looked like San Antonio was poised to win the game. They strung together stops. They get the ball down 2. They come down. I thought they took a couple of quick shots at that point late in the game. Yeah. And then Charlotte made the plays they had to win it. So in some ways, it was almost even more impressive. The fact that you've got this young team on a winning streak, you got the Spurs in your building, the place was electric, and you blow the lead and you still hold on to win it. That actually, in a lot of ways, is more impressive because that shows a level of maturity. And they didn't get caught up in this emotional roller coaster. They stayed the course. They made the plays they had to at the end of the game. And this thing keeps rolling along. And a lot of people are taking notice now. I mean, they've been getting some attention. And of course, you know, the guys on inside the NBA, Charles gave him a lot of love, and that put him on kind of on the map. But this was the signature win of this 6-game win streak. Make no mistake about it. This is the San Antonio Spurs. This is an elite defense, and you were still able to do your thing for most of the game, what you wanted to do offensively. So just really impressive. This is the crown jewel really win, I think, of their season. And they went into Oklahoma City and won, I know, but Oklahoma City just didn't have it that night for whatever reason. This was a little different. I mean, this was the Spurs. Like, they knew they had to come play, and they were right there, like poised to win the game with a couple of buckets late, and they couldn't get it done. So this is a huge, huge win for Charlotte to keep that winning streak alive.
I was going to disagree with you because you're right. They blew out Oklahoma City. They blew out Denver. But to your point, those games almost felt easy because of how comfortably they won. This one, they did the exact same script. It looked like it was going to be a blowout, fumbled it, but then was able to execute in the clutch. And this game really came down to 2 3-point foul calls against San Antonio late in the game, one of which I think got reviewed and then, turned into a jump ball. But both of them were plays where I thought San Antonio shot themselves in the foot, because the first one, which did stand, That one, and I believe it was even challenged, reviewed, and then still stand. They shoot for 3 free throws. That one, to me, if they didn't commit that foul, they would have won the game. But that's kind of when you play with fire, you get down 20. One call or one mistake like that can completely turn a game. But to Charlotte's point, man, they have so many guys that contribute, and their offense is so fun to watch that even a great defense with great perimeter containment and a great rim protector still was on skates for large portions of this game.
You know, what's kind of amazing is this streak started the game after we were there for Charlotte Cleveland, which was a national TV game. It was a kind of a big deal. They hadn't been on all year to that point. We went in there. We were all excited to call that game, and they really struggled. I think they had like in the low 30s in point total at halftime. Just really struggled in the game. And actually, I thought it was one of the best defensive games I've seen any big man play this entire season. What Evan Mobley did in that game, and their size differential up front was just a massive difference maker. And it was all of those guys. It was also Jared Allen. It was Tomlin and Mobley, especially though. And the size difference and the offensive rebounding of the Cavs just didn't give Charlotte a chance. But they just, I think LaMelo Ball might have been 0 for 10 from the 3 in that game. Knipple was like, okay. Brandon Miller played well for a stretch, but Bridges didn't do a whole lot. So it was like just a rare night for them because that's what we were dying to see, this explosive offense. They had a bunch of signature wins at that point, didn't play very well that night, and then bam, they took off after that, and they've been averaging like 120 to 125 points a game since. And look, man, I think that they do need to be taken seriously. They've got an average starting age of 23 years old. And
is that right? My God.
And Bridges skews it because he's 27, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking about just a bunch of young dudes that it's all coming together for at the same time. Knipple's been an amazing rookie. Obviously, LaMelo Ball's super talented. Brandon Miller, really high pick in the draft, can really score.
Yeah.
And then Diabate's a really young guy who I'm starting to love. And yeah, they're so young. It just takes like turning the tide a little bit, get some momentum, let your talent take over, and then the belief factor is the last part. That is what Charles Lee has now developed with this group. And you saw their celebration in the locker room after this game. This was a big deal to them. To beat the San Antonio Spurs, a contender this year for the Western Conference for a title, and you're rolling and they come in and you handle business. And you could see the celebration. Those guys deserved it. They're having fun. Bunch of young guys now like finding how good they are. We'll see how long it lasts, and I think they've got some momentum. I think that they're going to be in the mix now to potentially be a play-in team or beyond.
I hope so, man. To me, they are one of the 9 most good, best teams in the East. And to me right now, they're my number 1 team. I know it's crazy. They're my number 1 team. I've seen them 4 or 5 times here over the last 2 weeks. They're so entertaining. They're just a joy to watch. And so if you're not watching them, you got to check it out. We also did a deep dive on them on Friday, me and Jason Tim. So if you want a little bit more detail on them, go back and check out that show. I thought it was really great with some examples of why they're uniquely good. But we wanted to spend more of this show on the Spurs. And it's not because they lost. We plan sometimes like, hey, we haven't hit a team for a little bit that really matters. They just happened to lose this one. They play a game tonight, which we have not seen. But the Spurs also impressed outside of that run to end the first half, start the second half. Outside of that, they were really good. And let's just talk a little bit more broad on them. I made a list here, Legs. Tell me if you agree with the list, and I'll just go one at a time. I have 5 things that I think make the Spurs very good, make them a contender. The number 1 thing is the obvious one. It's Wemby's rim deterrence.
Yeah.
And it's insane to watch game by game because it's not even rim protection where he's making great plays, although he does that. He is maybe the most I've ever seen of any player ever where guys just don't go in. The moment they see him, they turn around and pull it out. And I think it's the number 1 reason that they're good. There's other big reasons, but to me, it's line item number 1.
Yeah, it's a really difficult thing to quantify. It's actually easier when you're at the game or when you're calling the game. And I've called a few Victor Wembanyama games here the last couple of years. It's easier to see it. You can pick up more than you can on TV because where you're sitting at courtside at half court looking, you can see the line of vision that players have with a live dribble. And you can tell what they're looking at on the weak side of the floor. Or if Wembanyama sometimes is even at the top of the key or extended out top, and guys are not going to drive the wing and try to get all the way to the rim because he's going to take 2 strides and he's going to meet that at the block. So you're right. It's a real thing, and it's actually probably even more significant than we know because you can't really put a point total on it, on what he prevents, because guys don't even try it.
Yeah.
You have to attack them in a different way. And so I agree with you. That's first. And it's tied into really their whole team defense. They've got some really tough guys that like to defend.
Yeah. I'm going to get to those here in a second.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to those in a Let me go to the rim deterrence thing one more time, though, because I think Anthony Davis is the only other guy that I feel this way about for this specific thing. Usually rim protection is a guy's looming around the baseline. Maybe there's a player in the dunker or they're sagged off or whatever. Wemby somehow has rim deterrence from the perimeter. He could get switched out onto a point guard up at the top of the key, and a guy will attack the wing, and they'll look over at him who's not even in the paint, but he's like turning his body to go to the paint. And you could just tell he'll close the gap with his length on those. So Anthony Davis has this where Anthony Davis can also be outside the paint, but he's right there to get to the spot. But not to the level of Wemby where he can literally be at the farthest possible guy and still deter you from even trying to get to the rim.
It's very true. And you know, that doesn't even include the plays where guys do penetrate and they see him coming to meet them at the rim, and they've got to kick out, obviously, or make a different decision. And you think that, okay, well, you got him to commit to the rim, then something good has to come on this kick out. Then he turns and sprints out, in that second pass, he's right there again on somebody in the corner or something. So it's more than just even the initial deterrent. It's like later in the possession, he can have another situation where he takes away what would have been a perimeter shot off of that penetration, and he doesn't allow that either. So it's unique unto him. Giannis at his best with his athleticism and size is pretty close, but nothing quite like this because of just that reach and the way he can extend up and the amount of things now that he can take away.
So it plays into what I think is number 2 reason that they're a good team, and that is defensive rebounding. They're number 1 in defensive rebound percentage, and this makes sense. And it's why the Charlotte Hornets matchup was so interesting, because the Hornets are number 1 offensive rebounding team, and they do it because they draw you out on the perimeter with high screens and they move the ball. And so your bigs are out of position and they crash from all spots. But with San Antonio, if you don't go into the paint against them, because again, you're scared, there's no bodies in the paint to grab offensive rebounds. And that's the impact I think Wemby has, is that they are good. Everybody crashes the board, but more than anything, they're always at an advantage on the boards because nobody's inside, because there's no point in going inside. Wemby's there.
That's a good point. I mean, a lot of what you get is relegated to spacing when you're able to get some offensive rebounds, and it's difficult against the Spurs to get that kind of space because of the way not just Wembanyama on the ground he covers, but the way that a number of their guys close out hard. They're committed to it. They care about it a lot. They've got a lot of want to. They like kind of that persona of being a team that you've got to work against. I've got tremendous admiration for, a couple of their wings and guards, man, and the way that those guys want to get physical with you and take stuff away. So across the board, they're just a tough team to score on. So if you can get to a number that gives you a chance to win the game, man, you've accomplished something against them.
I think they are going to lose a playoff game this year where Wemby has 6 blocks. Because I think you have to try him. Like, they're going to win games where he has 0 blocks or 1 blocks because nobody tried him that whole game. To beat him, you're going to have to just accept that he's going to block a lot of your shots, and you have to keep going to take away some of their weaknesses. So Wemby's rim deterrence, number 1, defensive rebounding, number 2. Number 3 is that everyone on their roster can guard on ball. And this gets lost a little bit because Wemby will save you if you do get beat. He's so good there. But they have so many guys that are comfortable pressuring full court or pressuring at 30 feet. If you're at 30 feet, you feel exposed, you get beat bad. They have a lot of guys that are just comfortable getting into the ball. And if you're a team going against San Antonio, you better have multiple ball handlers because they're going to make you use multiple ball handlers or wear down the 1 or 2 that you actually have.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. They've got an entire rotation of guys, like a stable of guys. Like you got De'Aaron Fox is adequate. Stephon Castle's elite.
Yep.
Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes, Harper, Like all of these guys, Champagny, all
No
of
weaknesses.
these guys, all of them. They want to guard the ball. They want to slide their feet, keep you in front, use their body. And I think sometimes, teams, they take on this identity. And so now it is like they can play that way a little bit more without getting whistled, because it's like all over the floor. Everywhere you see it, everybody's kind of doing the same thing. And they can take you out of sets. They push you further out on the floor. Their commitment to like either fight over ball screens or their technique, if they are going to go under or drop, is so good and just so solid. They understand it, like gives you a chance every night to win, regardless of whether the ball goes in for you, is if you take that end of the floor seriously. And it starts always with your guards and your perimeter pressure and guys that are willing to get out on the floor, make it the first pass caught further out toward half court. Ball reversals are not easy against them. Guys have to step out now to 30 feet to get the ball reversal. All of that stuff affects timing. And they're just really good at it and committed to it. And it's fun to watch, because you're right. I just listed 6 guys, and they all kind of buy into the same thing.
And it's a little different than, say, like Detroit, who has a Duncan Robinson. When he's on the court, you need his shooting, but he is the guy that ball handlers are going to target. And so you start to think we're going to have to trap around him and rotate and the stuff. You just don't. San Antonio is not in that spot. They may trap and do things in a playoffs just for a strategic advantage, but they have guys they can count on to guard possession to possession all the way up and down their roster. So that's 3 reasons. Number 4, they have multiple ball handlers. This might be the secret key to this entire season. When you look around at what teams have success, Fox can handle, Castle can handle, Vassell can handle, Keldon, Harrison Barnes. I'm not saying these guys are elite, like, point guard level ball handlers, but they're all guys who can handle the ball, who can bring the ball up the court. And now, I think in this new NBA where everybody's trying to get into you, just having guys that can spell your primary ball handlers for entries, bringing the ball up the court is huge. And everybody that plays for them can handle.
That's a good point. I think when I've watched them this year, and I'm going to have them again, actually, on Wednesday, we've got the Oklahoma City San Antonio game. So really excited about that. I'm going to get another chance to see them. But when I've seen them this year, that stands out to me. Like, there aren't guys on this team where the ball is swung to and they just sort of catch it if they don't have something and like put it above their head and then look for the next pass. I feel like just about everybody on the perimeter catches the ball, wants to go. They want to go on you. And so as a result, it just puts so much pressure on you, on your closeouts and your, when you help rotate and recover out, and every guy on the floor that catches the ball in the perimeter can go by you. That just makes it that much more difficult to keep the ball in front. So I agree with you. Like all of those guys I just mentioned, they all feel like they have the freedom to do it. They've got the skill to do it. And any one of those guys can get going on a given night. And it's a lot to deal with. In addition to the fact, any sort of breakdown that you have, you've always got this threat of Wembanyama just slipping to the rim and catching some ridiculous lob because you got out of balance, because you got beat off the dribble twice on the same possession. So yeah, I agree with that. They have a lot of versatility amongst their perimeter players, guys that are not one-dimensional. They're not just, okay, he's a good corner 3-point shooter and that's it. Or, a ball handler, but not a threat to score. These guys all do a little bit of both. And then some of them do it at an elite level, obviously, like De'Aaron Fox, Castle, Harper, like those main 3 guys. But then even Vassell and Keldon Johnson, those 2 guys, think about it, they were averaging about 40 points combined at one point for the
Very
Spurs
recently,
before Wemby came in. That's the level of scoring we're talking about. And these are now like your 5th and 6th options. So yeah, man, versatility and depth of guys that can beat you off the dribble is important.
The last thing I have for them, this is reason number 5 why I think they're good, is that they win these margins of mistakes. They're 4th in the league in turnover percentage, so they don't turn it over. They're 3rd in opponent offensive rebound percentage, as I just mentioned. They clean up the boards. And they're 3rd in opponent free throw attempt rate. They have the combination of both getting into you, guarding on ball, but not fouling. So those are margins. Like if you're bad at those, you tilt margins in the other team's favor. They're good at those margins. So they're not going to beat themselves. You're going to have to beat them. And that would be the 5th thing. It doesn't always pop when you watch them because those things are more the absence of something else. But for a young team, they don't make the mistakes that typically shoot young teams in the foot, like turning it over a bunch.
No, very, very true. They're smart. And they're smart. They're a reflection of their coach. Mitch Johnson is a really smart guy. You sit down and talk with him, you're just so impressed with his approach, his communication. He's got total command of the team. For a guy that's, he was an interim last year, beginning his first real shot at this, and the way he has commanded a team that's got a mixture. It's not all young guys. Like we just talked about Charlotte, how young they are. They've got a mixture of guys. They got some vets sprinkled in there too. And you got this young coach that has just garnered all the respect of everybody, particularly his best player. And I also think one other thing I'll say on the positive side for them, on the asset side of the ledger sheet, Wembanyama's exuberance and joy and like demonstrative support of his teammates, I think is important.
Love this.
When he's out of the game and they make a run, like I just love him showing that kind of emotion. Not just sitting there as the star thinking like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and chill and make sure I preserve my legs and I'm not going to get too excited over here because I'm getting my rest. He's so young, I guess maybe that's part of it. But I love the fact that he is a lot of times the first guy jumping up off the bench when they make a run and force the other team to call timeout when he's out of the game. I love that. There's no cool factor with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
great point.
I just think that's something that really matters with this team trying to take that leap. So I give him a lot of credit for that.
Let's break down some clips. One of the reasons we wanted to do this show recording it early is we can't do clips of plays and different things when we're recording live. YouTube won't allow it, but we can do it when we record it. So we have a couple plays here, Legs. I'd be curious to hear you break down. These happened from the game the other day. Here's the first one that I believe gets Wemby slipping to the basket for a lob. Let's take a look.
So let this run, and we're going to stop it when Wemby catches the ball. So we're going to stop it here. So now the first thing they're doing, and this is all misdirection action. This is really clever the way they do this. You're going to get a screen and a rescreen between the two guards up top. Wemby right now knows the ultimate action is going to be him going to the rim, but what they do to create space for him to spin out to go is very clever. So now we play it. There's the first screen. Let it keep going. And watch, Harrison Barnes comes right down. Stop it. Go back a little bit. Let's see if we can take that back a little bit.
Yeah. Right off of that, like how he flips. So Barnes is receiving.
Before he flips it to him.
Okay.
Okay, so right here. So that screen right there by Barnes. Now watch the extent to now which that defender is trailing this dribble handoff. The reason it's important is because the defender guarding Wembanyama sees that. So now he knows if he doesn't jump out with a hedge, there's going to be a wide open shot for this guard. So because that screen was set and freed up the guard coming to get the ball, when that big jumps out, that's all the space Wemby needs to spin out and get to the rim. And then once he's down the lane without contact initially, there's nothing you can do to stop him because they're just going to throw it anywhere. He's the only guy that's going to get it. So let's play it now. Now watch the big guy guarding Wembanyama as this handoff takes place. See that jump out?
That's just a second. Yeah.
Space he needed. And the whole thing was designed to create that. Because if he gets into a wrestling match, is that Diabate, I believe?
It is Diabate.
A wrestling match right there with Diabate. Diabate is going to put his forearm into his probably a Wembanyama, like his stomach, but he's going to be standing there and he's going to be slowing his momentum to the rim. By creating all that action initially, when that guard comes off and there's that much room with the defender trailing to that extent, Diabate has to jump out. And now Wembanyama, who's not the strongest guy, he now has a free run to the rim. So let's go back to the beginning and play it all the way through full speed, and you'll see what I mean. I love the clever misdirection at the start. Yeah. One screen, turn around, immediately reverse it. Now all that room, Diabate comes out of there, and there's no way the weak side Bridges is going to get there in time. And that ball's just thrown up wherever you want to. So it's a really clever set, all designed to get Wembanyama out of an arm wrestling match so that he can go use his length at the rim.
What I like about it at the very end is how quickly Fox makes the read here. So as soon as because Diabate actually does a decent job of not fully jumping out, he kind of just stunts at it, but that's all. The timing of this is so great that the moment Diabate lunges forward, the pass is over. And of course you have the world's biggest target in Wemby roll into the basket. But we can go to the next play now if we have it, because it's a similar thing, but in reverse, where I like players when they're able to make these reads on the screen. quickly, right as the player jumps off, throw it then because the window is only open. So if we run this one, we get something similar here. We're going to get the flare screen and then the quick roll. It's right as the two defenders are trying to switch and jump out. And Wemby has this in his hands for all of about a quarter second here, Legs.
So, and here's what I love about this. Let's go back to the beginning of it. Let's go back to the very beginning. So here's the purpose of this screen right here by Castle. He knows by setting this screen and Wemby goes into this flare, right? You got the defender on Wembanyama is like terrified that they're going to throw him the ball. He's going to get downhill against somebody, dunk it, or shoot a three right there. The guard, I think that's Colin Sexton. He's also equally concerned on this screen that Wembanyama is going to flare out and get a wide open three. So it just takes a split second of indecision where two guys jump toward the ball, which they both do. They both go toward Wembanyama, but it's the timing then of Castle. If Castle just screens and kind of stands there for half a second, he's not going to be open because I think that's Bridges on the weak side corner. He's going to come over to the lane and take that away. But because Castle barely sets this screen and goes straight down the middle, there's no chance for those backline guys who are both guarding shooters in the corner, by the way, so they're kind of attached. They're not going to get there in time because how quickly Castle slips, so you can run it.
All right, let's go to the last play here, Legs. What do we got?
So now you're going to get a screen, dive, and then now you're just hanging around the rim and any dribble penetration. This one just kind of eye candy. This is how silly it is when you've got a guy like Wembanyama. You know, screen, dive. Good job taking that dive away so he doesn't get it. But now if you give up any dribble penetration, and we just talked about it, in this case it's Sohan, the number of guys that could beat you off the dribble, and now Wemby is just down there. He's already there off the dive, just lurking around it again. You don't even have to be that precise with your pass. Just throw it up there wherever, and that was kind of ridiculous. He barely jumps, catches the ball like 5 feet away from the basket, and still dunks it. Pretty incredible.
Who is the easiest lob like tandem you've ever had, Legs? You know, like Wemby, I'd love to play with Wemby. I'd look like Chris Paul out there because you could throw, your margin of error is like 10 feet, you know, to lob it up to him.
Chris Webber, Rasheed Wallace, both of those guys in Washington. Rasheed was so long and so quick and athletic to the rim. You could kind of throw it wherever. Weber got up really high too. He was a great athlete, but maybe not as much as some guys, but Chris Webber had the best set of hands that player I ever saw. So if he got fingertips on it, he was going to catch it and he was going to finish it. So he was going to make you look good. Even on sometimes you threw a ball that was like not quite on target. There's no way it was going to fumble off of his hands, go out of bounds. And then, I would get the turnover as a passer. And when that happens, you're less reluctant, you're less, willing to throw that pass because you don't want to get turnovers. So a guy like that, you're always willing to take the risk because he's going to clean up anything you throw up there.
All right, why don't we hit our first break? That's a good Spurs discussion, man. They're an interesting team, and I feel like the back half, they're the 3 seed right now. Denver has overtaken them momentarily, but of course, these things are going to rise and fall. Their second half of the season will be interesting, but let's take a break. We're going to talk about Cooper Flagg. You got to see him in person this weekend. Nikola Jokic made his return, made a splash, I would say. Paul George got suspended, and then we got some trades and all starts to talk about all on the other side. Let me tell you guys about Shopify. What kind of dreams did you have when you were a kid? What did you want to be when you grew up? Well, how about now? Are you thinking about starting your own business or maybe trying to sell something online? Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. Shopify even powers the ALLCITY merch store. Shopify has got you covered with website creation, product descriptions, email and social media marketing, and so much more. They also have AI tools that help you maximize sales. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. Also want to tell you guys about FanDuel Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl season. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. The final chance to place your bets before the NFL season closes its tab. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're in on it. If you're a new customer, bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. So whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, make it count. Because after the Super Bowl, the season's over and football is officially done. So last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
All right, back here, All NBA Show segment 2, me and Tim Legler. Make sure you're subscribed if you're enjoying it. Let us know what you thought of the film thing. Should we do it more? Would you like us to record these rather than go live so that we can do more of that? Or do you like the live portion of this? Let us know in the chat. We want to hear from you. You got to see Cooper Flagg over the weekend. Dallas and Houston, you were calling the game. He is on a tear. These last 2 games are unbelievable what he has been doing. And he's only been getting better as the season goes on. So now that you got to see him up close, what stood out to you?
That's the big game, the signature game, probably from his rookie year. And it might be even when the year's over, it still might be the one you're talking about. 49-point game, 20 made field goals in the game, a variety of shots, an array of shots. So now he comes into this game with Houston, and you're thinking, okay, well, this is a great defensive team. He's on the radar. They've got you think about the number of guys Houston has individually that can guard him well. Yeah. Amin Thompson at the top of the list, but then even a guy like Durant's no slouch, very good defender. You got Dorian Finney-Smith playing in this game. You got Tari Eason playing in this game, right? You got Josh Okogie. I mean, those are a lot of like strong defenders that you could throw at him. Now, it's not going to be one guy because he's that talented, but to wear him down initially, that's a lot of guys you could throw at him. And man, I was so impressed, number one, with Cooper Flagg because the number of shots, first of all, he made in this game with his offhand. I know he loves going left, but these weren't necessarily shots where he went left. These were shots where he went right, spun back, and shot the ball with his left hand coming out of the spin with like dudes jumping to get it. Capella, Şengün, whoever back there jumping to try to get these. And he was doing like out of the spin. And by the way, when he was spinning, they were running another defender at him. And he wasn't losing the ball. He was spinning and going right through that second guy and getting the ball up high and shooting these left-handed soft floaters. They weren't even like off the glass. They were just incredibly difficult shots, one after another. So that's the first thing that stood out.
Hold on. I want to talk about that because we actually talked about this on Friday as well, but you said it even better, which is I actually think this is one of his underrated weapons. He's so powerful getting to the basket. He's so explosive getting in the air, but he finishes these offhanded, like he's going downhill to dunk on you. So you've got to get vertical to try to contest him. But then if you do get vertical with him, he's really good at just kind of lofting the ball and going to finesse. So you expect power so you don't get dunked on. He pivots to finesse to finish, and he has this crazy touch on these weird angled, soft little floaters up. And at first I thought maybe it was, he's a little hot, but who wants that shot? I actually think it's a skill. I think he's just good at those shots.
First couple he made in the game, and look, I've been watching him all year, so I know he's making these shots, but it's different when you're sitting there. He made the first couple, and I'm thinking like, one of them is kind of almost like, how did he even see the basket? So, but then by the time he had 5 of these, you're like, okay, this is a big part of his game. Like he has this incredible feel for where he is on the court at all times. It's in some ways, I'm not comparing him in any way to Jokic, but Jokic is another guy that I've talked about many times that can shoot the ball coming out of a spin before his eyes find the rim. And he's already going into his shooting motion. That's just feel and touch and awareness. So he's got that at a really high level. The next thing that stood out, he has a nasty hesitation. So and he does it a lot. Yeah. Like a lot more than you can. It's so subtle and it's so lightning quick that maybe even when you're watching him at home on TV, you don't even see the number of times he does it. He does this move a lot, and it rarely is ineffective. In fact, he had one when they were making the game close in the fourth quarter. He had one from the right wing, and the ball was in his left hand, and he kind of backed up after it was a second shot, I believe, opportunity. He gave it back to him, and Tari Eason was guarding him, and he like backed up beyond a 3-point line, and then he hit him with this left-handed hezzy where his head went up just a little bit. It was so lightning quick. The ball stopped. Eyes went up. Everybody in the building thought he was going to shoot a step-back three, including Tari Eason, who, by the way, this guy's an all-league caliber defender.
An athlete.
He kind of just leaned up, and next thing you know, he's like out of the picture. I mean, he's in his rearview mirror, and now he's downhill attacking whoever's back there in the paint. And I think he made a shot off the glass on that one. So that's the other thing that stood out to me. He has a filthy hesitation move, and it's usually with his left hand. He sets you up to think he's about to pull up and shoot either an 18-footer or a three. He is by you. So he gets your weight to shift, and he's gone. He's been working on that move. I don't know that it was that good at Duke. Maybe it was. He didn't do it as much, maybe. But I'm telling you, it's one of the better hesitations in the league.
And the part of it is his strides are so long. So once he gets you with the hezzy, like if you hesitate for a second, thinking you have to step up, he's a 10-foot stride around you immediately, and then you're just done. So he's special, man. It's a really fun Rookie of the Year race because Con Knipple, every game, he gets a year older every game he plays. Right now, he's 33 years old. It's unbelievable how what a veteran that guy is.
I think look, it's going to go down to the wire. Knipple's incredible, and he's going to set all kinds of records this year for rookie made threes and everything else. And he's more than just a 3-point shooter. He's just a really good basketball player. So they're going to, both these guys are going to get votes. The one thing about Cooper Flagg is he has so much on his plate to decide the game.
Yeah.
I mean, and not just like make a shot. It's okay, ball's in your hands. And look, he doesn't bring it up as much, but if he takes anything off the glass, he's gone. Anytime the ball gets outletted to him, he's gone. He has straight ahead intensity every time he gets the ball. That's pretty impressive that he's got that kind of endurance. He's just coming right at you. And if you don't have those gaps walled off, he's going to be taking that thing to the rim. But just to decide matters. Like the game's hanging in the balance. And by the way, Dallas has played so many clutch time games. I don't know if they're number one in the league. They might be number one in the league in games that are within 5 points decided in the last 5 minutes. They had another one against Houston. And he has the responsibility to figure out how to win the game, whether it's a facilitator or as a scorer. So he's got a lot on his plate for a rookie. Knipple, sensational too. Both of those guys are going to get votes. It was really cool to see them put on that kind of show, 83 points between the two of them.
Well, you were watching Cooper. I was watching Joker make his return after a month out with a bone bruise. Nuggets did a great job, 10-6 in his absence, stayed afloat, stayed at that 3 seed in the Western Conference. But Jokic comes back on a minutes restriction against the red-hot LA Clippers, and on the second night of a back-to-back, he plays 25 minutes legs. He goes 8 of 11 for 31 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals in 25 minutes. Absolutely dominant performance. And then to end the game, when Denver was pulling away, because this was actually a close game, but Denver in the fourth quarter just absolutely blitzed them. In that quarter, he finished the game basically with a behind the back. It was a behind, usually it's a shot that puts you ahead or whatever. Denver's up 10 with like 4 minutes to go. And Jokic hits it with, all right, I'll give the highlight pass just to solidify this, right for a dunk for Peyton Watson. What'd you make of his return to action?
Yeah. First of all, you missed a month. You're supposed to have a little feeling out period, maybe even a game. Look at Wembanyama missed time, and how long did he come off the bench? You're just like with a minutes restriction. So Jokic comes back, misses all this time, absolutely no rust, no lack of rhythm, picks up right where he left off. And if there's any saving grace in the injury, and I've seen this before with guys that are this important, you're fresher. He feels better because he just had a month off than he would in any normal year as we head into February. I guarantee it, particularly when I look at basically Christmas to the All-Star break is the hardest time of the year to play, I think, in general. Like your body, and you're just worn down a little bit. You're looking forward to that break. And typically heading into February, guys don't feel great. When you just got a month off, it was obvious. He felt really fresh. He didn't have to play a ton of minutes to still do his thing. And look, it just, we all know that this is a very, very good team, and they're in the mix, man. They're going to be right there. One of the teams that could potentially win the whole thing. And when you see him look that good after that time off and what they did without him, and you want to know, okay, has Peyton Watson going to continue to still be able to do the same thing once they get Murray and Jokic back? Now, they don't have Gordon and Christian Brown. Those are two different things.
Cam
but
Johnson.
he gets 21. Peyton Watson had 21 in this game, so he was able to blend in. Jamal Murray played well. Jokic was the story, though, man. It looked that good after that long off is just so uncommon.
They got a big one tonight against OKC. Should be one of the great games of the season so far. In other news, Paul George has been suspended 25 games for breaking the league's substance policy. Here, this one's an interesting. I don't want to really talk about that itself. I want to talk about the 76ers because they are the team I've said all year I keep buying, and they don't quite get over the hump. And this is another one where if you look at what Joel Embiid has been doing over this last stretch, is that his last 15 games, legs, he's averaging 30 points a game. 30 points a game over the last 15. It's like he's back. And then if you look, 40-point game last one, 37 before that, 38 the week before that. He's putting up monster dominant performances again. And yet, right as it's all coming together for them, once again, a big hit to their chances.
Yeah, I mean, it's you just looking at the effect on the team. We just did a Sixers game, did two of them back to back a couple weeks ago, and Nick Nurse was just really, really effusive in his praise for Paul George. In that, this is a guy that was a number one option on a lot of teams for a lot of years, and then he was playing with other great players. So on any night he could be the one option, and now he, on this team with Maxey, what he's doing with Embiid, starting to pick it up. Again, and then the great year that Edgecombe has had. There's a lot of nights that Paul George is kind of like the fourth option, but he's their second best ball handler. He's their second best decision maker in ball screen. He is clearly their best defender on the perimeter. And so with this loss, it's a lot for them. Now, what that's going to mean is Quentin Grimes is probably going to dial it up, and look, he's capable. He had a great year for them last year. His minutes have not been quite as much this year. His production down a little bit, but he plays incredibly hard. And he showed last year what he can do if he's given the opportunity. Quentin Grimes is a guy that any night can hit you for 20 to 25 points. So, and he plays really hard defensively. So there's going to be obviously a lot more minutes there. Jared McCain hasn't looked close to himself coming back from that ACL. I don't know, if this gives him more minutes, maybe he gets a little closer to that by the time you get to the playoffs. But Paul George, if it's 25 games and that's all it is, then, he's maybe back for the postseason. Obviously, his camp put out a statement about, a mental health issue, and it was related to that. So, you certainly wish nothing but the best for Paul George and whatever's going on there. But this is really more about now you got to look at, hey, it's an NBA team. They've got their sights set on some stuff because of the way Embiid looks. I think it's changed the way maybe they're viewing what they can do this year.
Yeah, maybe.
And so now you look at their team and you're like, okay, where is that production going to come from? Who steps up next? I look at Quentin Grimes more than anybody. And, increased opportunities probably even for Edgecombe to handle the ball a little bit more.
I'm not writing him off just because of how dominant Embiid has been. I mean, if you rewind legs to 3 months ago, Embiid looked like he was never coming back. He was playing, and you watched him out there, and it was sad. He couldn't move. The magic was gone. His entire game was gone. This last run, he looks like the MVP. It's a short stretch. You want to see a little bit more of it. But if you just talk about the last couple of weeks, he looks like the MVP version of him, and that's a complete game changer, especially when we talk about this Eastern Conference that is wide open and vulnerable. Yes, Detroit has earned that spot, but everybody else is right there. But for me, I define the Sixers season as they've been right there on the doorstep of turning the corner like 6 times this year. And this feels, unfortunately, like another one, but we'll see how it gets played out. Let's hit a couple trades real quick. There was trade season. This is a huge week, legs. There's going to be a ton of big trades. The first one, kind of a surpriser. Cleveland Cavaliers traded for Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder. The Kings got DeAndre Hunter. That was the trade. And then the Bulls helped facilitate it by acquiring Dario Saric and getting 2 second-rounders. The Bulls piece of this, not much. They basically just fill a roster spot, get a couple second-round picks. But the Cavs send out DeAndre Hunter, and they add Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder. What does this do for them?
Well, I think, first of all, let's take a look at the dynamic in Cleveland and how it changed for DeAndre Hunter. You remember when they picked him up a year ago, people were just in disbelief that they could acquire a player that good on both ends of the floor, right, to add to the mix. That team won 64 games. This year, for whatever reason, DeAndre Hunter has really struggled to shoot the ball. He is a guy that is typically in that upper 30s. I think he's had a couple years over 40% from the 3-point line. And yeah, he's the last 2 seasons actually over 40%, 39, 38 the 2 years before that. So that's 4 years in a row, 38 and up. This year, 30%. That's a big drop off. And when you're already missing Max Strus, who hasn't played, like that's why this team went from like number 1 in the league in 3-point production and percentage down, to like top 15 in percentage. And that's a big part of it. They needed DeAndre Hunter to make more shots. He's always going to play hard, and he did that. I think they looked at the emergence of Jalen Tyson as a guy now much more consistent with his shooting, also pretty good defender, good size. I think Jalen Tyson made DeAndre Hunter expendable. And now you go out and say, well, then where do we need to shore up? I don't think Lonzo Ball has necessarily given them what they expected at the beginning of the year. So where are those extra guard minutes going to come from if they're not sure about, his shooting and the struggles he's had? Do they want to go there? They're thinking about the playoffs. Dennis Schroeder's got a lot of playoff experience under his belt. He's a guy that can guard, really good on-ball defender and a much more consistent scorer and more explosive scorer. Maybe even take some of the pressure off Donovan Mitchell, honestly, who has to do so much with the ball in his hands to win games. I like this a lot for Cleveland based on the emergence of Jalen Tyson. Without that piece, I'd be kind of like, man, if DeAndre Hunter, that's a lot to give up. Jalen Tyson helped make that situation a little bit more palatable to the Cavaliers. And now that you're able to bring in a couple of guards that can really help them with ball pressure, defense, and scoring.
I love Keon Ellis too, man. And if you just talk about Garland, Mitchell, and Dennis Schroeder, that's 3 of the toughest guys to keep in front of you. They're also lightning quick. So on ball, trying to guard, you got 3 guys that are lightning quick. And then Keon Ellis just provides a different layer. We'll see what happens of him. Do you trade him? It gives you flexibility in the future. You end up re-signing him and committing to him, and allows you to get off one of these other 2 guys. I don't know, but I'm with you. I actually think this is good for the Cavs. The only question for the Cavs is they're playing well. Eventually, they're going to welcome back Max Strus, and now you're going to work in 2 guards plus Max Strus into your rotation. That'll be a test for them down the stretch. Let's go to the Vit Krejci trade. Yes, he's the headliner. The Blazers have acquired him, and it only cost them 2 future second-round picks, and Duop Reith, who's not playing this year. Vit Krejci is a great jump shooter, Legs. Among players who have taken 250 jump shots, he's got the 4th highest effective field goal percentage, 62.9%. The Blazers can't shoot. So this, to me, seems like an actual sneaky great value trade for a team in the Blazers who are trying to hang on and make the playoffs this year, fighting with the Clippers, fighting with the Warriors. I feel like they needed a shooter.
Yeah, I do too. Definitely did. And this is one of the best ones you're going to get out there. I mean, you're talking about a guy 6'8". He's only 25 years old. 3 years in a row over 40%, 42 this year, almost 44% last year, 41 the year before that. So he's now got a body of work. This is what he does. He's consistent and efficient from out there. And I actually think his volume could pick up in Portland. He's taking like 5 a game. That's not a ton for like a great elite shooter with size. There's a lot of nights guys that are 6'8" that can really shoot it will get you 7 to 10 3-point shots off. He's averaging 5 a game. So I think there's actually more there that he can discover potentially in Portland. He's a big time shooter. I'd be interested to see, how that plays out. And you pair him with Avdia, Shane Sharp. It's an interesting team, a lot of talent amongst their top guys, and now somebody to help give them more space.
He feels like such a Blazer to me, man. They've got all these guys that I like that are just below the radar. They're good players, but they're not quite radar guys. And I think he's one of them. So it's possible we're talking about that trade here in a couple weeks. If they is like, hey man, that flew under the radar, but that was a big deal. It kind of made their roster more complete. Let's wrap up today's show, Legs. The All-Star reserves were announced, and we have the list. Let me go through them real quick because we did pretty good. We actually almost nailed this. In fact, I think your list is exactly what we saw in the East. Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Johnson, Karl Anthony Towns, Pascal Siakam, Norman Powell, Scotty Barnes, and Jalen Duren. I think that's exactly what you had on your ballot.
I'm trying to think. Did I have Siakam? I don't remember if I had Siakam or not.
I had him for sure. So maybe it was a combined, but I'm pretty sure I had him. Not sure if I had Cat though.
I had all of those other guys. I don't remember if I had him or not, honestly. And here's how I'm looking at this, and remind people the starters: Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Giannis, Tyrese Maxey, Cade Cunningham. You just said the reserves. So the way I looked at it was there was a pool of players, and rather than say, oh, this guy got snubbed, he deserves to be on the team, in which case you got to yank a guy off the team. I'm not about that, man. I look at it like this. There are more deserving players, and it just didn't happen for them this year. That's really the way I kind of look at this stuff. So to me, that next group of guys that just missed it, Brandon Ingram, Josh Giddey, Joel Embiid, with the way he came on, Brandon Ingram, a lot of people are going to look at that. I didn't think both of those guys could get on. I think, Barnes or Ingram, one of those guys. I didn't think both were going to make it. So the coaches went with Barnes, probably for the defensive prowess. And then Michael Porter Jr., here's an interesting one. He was getting a lot of talk about it, and I knew he had a shot, but I looked at it like this. You're not taking Siakam and Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
Right.
Had to pick one.
Not two guys with, I think their teams have 25 combined wins. I didn't think they could both make it. So I look at it like this. Michael Porter Jr., is having this huge breakout scoring year. I look at it like Pascal's, their numbers are very similar. Porter Jr. scoring is just a little bit above Siakam's.
Yeah.
Rebounds are kind of the same. Their shooting splits are kind of the same. Everything's kind of the same. It almost feels like Siakam's been doing it for a longer period of time, and his team was in the finals last year. And they're having a down year, and he plays so hard every night still. The guy deserves a medal for how hard he has played under these circumstances with that team, because he still looks like the same guy. He looks like he was in the finals. That's how hard he plays. And I felt like that was the reward from the coaches because of the admiration for his career and like the respect that he gets around the league.
I think the defensive versatility probably plays a part here, though. Although people would be surprised to know that Brooklyn was they the number one defense in December? Like, when they've actually had their guys, they've been a sneaky good defensive team, which is crazy. But I think Siakam should get the nod. I actually like the list. I think the committee got it right here. Yeah. If we go to the West, it's a little more difficult because there's more candidates, in my opinion. But they went with Anthony Edwards, Jamal Murray, Chet Holmgren, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Denny Avdia, and LeBron James. Not mentioned Alperen Şengün, Kawhi Leonard. Was there a snub?
I don't think there was a snub. Again, I think there was guys that are also deserving. When I looked at the list, first I'm thrilled for Jamal Murray. I told you he was a lock to make it.
You were right, man. Lock.
So happy for it. I don't think that was even a hesitation on the part of the coaches that he had to be on. And Denny Avdia, I said was going to make it too. Really happy that he got rewarded. Basically about a 500 team, but they're fun to watch. He's had an incredible year. All those other guys made sense. I think people weren't sure necessarily about LeBron. He obviously deserving. And there's still a lot of nights, particularly when Luka was out or if Austin Reeves has been out, LeBron still is a guy that can drive your offense, and he's still having a great year, which is kind of incredible at 41 years old. But by him making it, I think that spot and Chet Holmgren with the team success, you kind of were leaning toward him getting on in his defensive prowess. Kawhi Leonard and Şengün were the two guys. It was going to be tough. All four of those guys couldn't make it. And any two of those four, as long as two of those four made it, I was going to be good with it, man. Because it's just, you're talking about really 6 1, half dozen the other in your argument. You really are. The only other guys I do want to give a quick mention to, just the two guards for San Antonio. I think De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, both of those guys are really close. You have to give them a look at least. And then Julius Randle, man, he's putting up great numbers on a team that's really relevant in the Western Conference. Didn't get any mention just for the numbers he's putting up on a really good team, and he plays hard. I wanted to give him a shout out too. But really for me, it was Kawhi and Şengün, LeBron, Chet, whatever conversation you wanted to have for those four players.
It was tough. Kawhi being off feels wrong to me because of how good he's been. But at the same time, look at where they are in the standings. Down there, the 10 seed, 22-25, a losing record. What can you do? What can you do? If they had a little bit better record, everything else was the same, I think he gets in, but that becomes a factor and it becomes an important one. So the Lakers, the Nuggets, and the Thunder are the teams out west that got multiple All-Stars. Seems okay. Seems okay to me given who the guys were. That does it. Let us know in the comments. What do you guys think about the All-Stars? Was there a snub? What do you think of the Spurs? Do you agree with our assessment about them? How do you rank them? Could you see them coming out of the West or anything else from the show today? Let us know. Make sure you're subscribed. We appreciate you watching it, tuning in. I'm going to be back with Mark Stein. This is trade deadline week. So on Tuesday, we're checking in with Stein. We'll check in with him again over the weekend after the trade deadline passes. So once before, one after. Me and Legs will be back on Wednesday. Me and Tim on Friday. So we got lots of content for you. Stay locked to the channel and hit the like button on the way out. We'll see everybody next time.